Hello. I'm sending this message to everyone who has been admitted to the one person course starting in May, on the 2nd of May, without me needing to do an interview, just on the basis of what you wrote in your application. They're great. I really enjoyed digesting them. There are a few of you in this group who I still want to set up a in-person interview meeting with to nail down the specifics of how you're thinking about your one person and going through the logistics of the course, especially if you're deciding how to do it. I'm going to let the cat out just a second. Go on. And there are a few others who I'll do formal interviews with in order to decide if it's an appropriate thing at this time. The purpose of this course is to make peace in difficult times, to share technologies for peace. And yeah, these technologies are primarily the clarification of the perception, the calming of the whole system, the stilling of the mind. But they're also technologies of relation. And that is why the prerequisite for each and every person is to heal your lineage. And I know all of you have done that in your own ways as a prerequisite to even filing the application. But there may be more healing to do in the months ahead, in the thinking, in the relating. And I encourage you to take this very, very seriously. Yoga is the yoga of action, the yoga that we're doing. It's not just a matter of telling yourself that you're good. It's also a matter of taking action in the world. Peace is a part of the yoga of action, making peace internally first, and then in the way that one relates. We do this for our own lineage. The nagging matters of the heart will be transmitted to the degree that they are not settled and deeply immersed in love. So that is what to do with the time ahead of us, in addition to simply stabilizing your sadhana. What happens when you no longer have an out? When the negotiation, the planning falls away. And it's simply not a matter of convenience or preference, but an installed part of the day. You get up, you brush your teeth, you brush your brain. I don't care what it looks like. If you've gotten this far, you know how to make a sadhana. So that's the other thing that we'll be doing with this time. Yeah, the initial cause of this course is from you. And several of you putting it first for me on my priority list to support you to share a little of what you know. And your refusal to do that outside of the mutual accountability that this relationship that we're in creates. You wouldn't want to go sharing what you know without having both my support and my knowledge. That's not true for a bunch of you, because I've allowed others into the course who I don't have this long-standing relationship where I've really watched you through the first 10, 15 years of your practice and come to understand why people are coming to you legitimately for support. And at the same time, it's that handful of people who are making me do this that we have to thank. So you know who you are. In addition to the importance of making peace where we can in these times, you'll be learning seva. This is part of it. You undertake your sadhana, and then for some, the next posture is seva. And the best articulation I know of that turning of the wheel is Krishnamacharya's oft repeated comment, the imperative. Teach of what you know, not as it applies to you, but as it applies to the person in front of you. So this is not what's really happening out there in the contemporary yoga land. Contemporary yoga land seems to be a place where you get really adept at gymnastics and you show yourself in your development, and that is somehow your bona fides. Your credibility comes from your own gymnastic skill. And that is not what we are doing here. Your bona fides are your daily practice over a long time. And the call to service that comes from somehow beyond you. Teach of what you know, not as it applies to you, but as it applies to the person in front of you. This is my primary purpose for this course. So we have sort of our orienting values of peacemaking and seva. But by the end of this first portion, module 1 of the course, I really want you to have internalized some new ability to perceive another. And at first, the action of teaching, there will be this tendency for almost everyone to try to source it from oneself. So as you're narrating, for example, how to take Nadi Shodhana, you'll be facing another person and recreating, the impulse will come to recreate the experience within yourself as you narrate your own experience to another. This is JV yoga teaching. And it's most of what's happening out there. When you apply something of what you know to the individual in front of you, it comes first from clarified perception. This is something to hold in awareness in these times of non-peace. How much the aggression and the ego of this time is rooted in misperception, in avidya, in quite literal inability to sense the external environment due to the modifications and the delusions of the inner environment. Are you noticing that turkey walking by? It reminds me of the famous video of people playing basketball where you're cued to notice how many times the humans are dribbling. And as you're counting, unbeknownst to the majority of people playing the game, they don't see the big hairy gorilla furry walking through the middle of the game. They're not perceiving the field. They're perceiving the quantification of the thing they've been assigned to attend to. It's kind of life now. It's kind of, especially life in the digital. How can we do this course with this component of the digital and never lose sight of the primary objective, which is just to perceive your one person? That is everything, to be present with your one person and to offer a little of what you know into this context that is not you, that is their experience. This is a very human thing. We have and can recover and bring to the forefront the skills, the emotional, neurological, cognitive suite of skills that are perception without agenda. And this is what I'm going to start asking of you to place in the forefront on the 2nd of May. It's going to be a quiet thing and hard. You're going to have to give this a really significant amount of your bandwidth, of your processing power over the course of this 8 weeks. But I do not mean to do the usual Angela thing, which is try to tell you everything and give you as much raw knowledge as possible. This is a training in perception, and then in seva, and finally in yoga for peacemaking. So for a few of you, I'll reach out and offer you some interview times so we can talk through nuts and bolts. I want you to be there for class. So for many of you, this will be through this portal. And if you can be there in person, even if I know many of you will be coming to town for this, I appreciate this very much. It'll just potentiate the whole thing. We're working on a pretty subtle level. And so that time in person and the sacrifices you're making to be there for it, I really appreciate. Those of you who are local, be there for the 2nd of May and the 9th of May. That will be at 9 in the morning Eastern. For those of you taking the course on Zoom, for any Zoom version that you take, I want you to be prepared to take an audio version of the class for the first 2 hours. So you're going to set up your mat in a way that I can see it quite well from a screen. But then I simply want you to hook into the auditory instruction without much visual information for those first 2 hours every class, and practice what I'm describing. What this is going to be is each subsequent class of my foundations course. And in the end, what you will know is how the foundation course actually works from the perspective of a teacher. But the way to do that at first is to take each class through the auditory stream, and then with your one person, apply whatever portions of that class apply. And that may be seated Trishthana. You may go ahead and add any version of the asanas that are included for the group that's going along with us. So I'll have my own cohort that's going through the foundations course that are offering basically the prototype of this particular version of the foundations course, which is of course different for every cohort. So you'll go through, you'll take the course, you'll hold that pattern in your mind, and then very soon, I prefer within 48 hours, you'll meet with your one person and you'll offer the appropriate portion of the class that we've done as a group on Saturday. From 11 to 12 Eastern, every week, I'll teach. And then we'll come together as a group for the people in person and the people on Zoom. And for that hour, we're gonna discuss the real practicalities of how you operationalize the content for your one person. In week 1, I'm going to talk about relationship and a few of the practicalities, and then things are going to get very interesting after week 1, where all of the questions that arise in your practical applied experience come to bear. There's going to be a Slack dedicated to this, and I will have an assistant, one or more assistants for the course. I'm not sure how much I personally am going to lead in the Slack. We'll see. I'll be tempted to do so much. And because I'm placing your experience first, I'm teaching my own foundations methods as they apply to you. I'll be mirroring this process of staying in a perceptual field vis-a-vis your experience. So the Slack will be there, and I will encourage you to use this to articulate your experiences as a cohort. I think there's something very powerful happening here, a field of peace and seva and very radical selfless empathy that I want to generate, and some of that will be through the platform. And a lot of it will just be through our shared intention over the course of this 8 weeks. Money. So you can pay for this course anytime between now and the last day of 2027. And the fees are all going to sustain the delta, inshallah, expenses that is coming down basically now, but especially after the fiscal year of 2026 and very much in the 18 months that follow. Certainly we're dealing with increases in rent and inflation and this economy such as it is. But primarily what I'm doing is building our funds so that I can pay the local teachers at the Shala during the times that I am not present. And so the funds themselves are part of the sustainability of our organization, which is run very much as a spiritual organization. You know, this is not the logic of some sort of passive income or all these terrible things that anybody but my business coach will tell you about how to make a sustainable organization. There are tiers for the payment plan. The great majority of you, I think, will pay 1512. This covers everything. It's basically no money. If I wanted to charge you based on the value, it would be the majority of you wouldn't be able to afford. I wouldn't get the right students. I wouldn't get those of you who are oriented towards seva. So it's 1512. You are allowed to pay 2016. There is a hardship rate of 1008. If you want to opt into that hardship rate, we can have a conversation about it. And a few of you, I am going to insist that you pay 504. And I'm not going to give you a choice about it. for now, just know that this is in your hands. I delegate it to you like I do everything with Shallow Fees. It's probably easier for you to pay in cash or check in person. I can figure out the bank transfer on Zelle if you want me to. The least viable is PayPal. I don't really want the PayPal mafia to take, 6% of what we're doing. Easier to just hang on to it, cover your expenses when I see you in person. Again, this is in your hands, and you can space it out over the next year and a half as makes sense for your life. I think that's everything for now. I'm really proud of all of you and happy to be in this container with you as it takes shape. I'm so clear about what we're doing and about working with each of you who is receiving this. And for now, the most important part is clarifying your intention and building the practice itself in the subtle before we move it into the physical when you'll be coming into relationship with your one person. You've got this. It's going to be great.